Hi, and welcome to our debate on applied behavior analysis and autism in pop culture. My name is Emma Parker, and I will be your introducer. This is Emily. She will be your pro supporter. Donnie will be your rebuttal, and Sarah will be doing our conclusions. Before we get started, we wanted to show you a quick video showcasing ABA and autism spectrum disorder within pop culture.
Healing and preventing autism
time. To do all kinds of exercises supported by applied behavior analysis, or ABA.
I believe I've isolated the algorithm from making friends.
The diagnosis was autism.
It's terrifying to think that your child has this curable disorder.
We went through speech therapy, physical therapy, developmental therapy, occupational therapy. A therapist came to the home.
So, are you embarrassed by your brother?
In the first year of life for chronic ear infections, that's a really good sign to start to delay vaccines.
A yoga therapy program called Get Ready to Learn.
I wish I had a sister without autism.
Since I rarely hug, I'm relying on your expertise regarding duration.
Promote a cure. The research does promote effectiveness.
Laura Kaspar created the Gemini videos after her twins were diagnosed with autism.
10-year-old David's autism is heartbreaking for his older brother.
Oh no! Sorry, really sorry.
What's happening?
I was reading this book for Max. I'm reading it for the kid, and then all of a sudden, I'm not reading about the kid anymore. I'm reading about me.
Autism is the fastest growing developmental disability in America, increasing.
You're very proud of your autism.
Okay, so I work currently in the field of dance movement therapies at a company in Cleveland called Dancing Wheels Company and School. And we go into the school systems doing in-reach and outreach programs for students with disabilities. And we work with students on emotions, behavioral issues, through movement, and at the end of a semester-long program, we do a performance-based program for parents and peers. And I get to see a lot of behavioral changes through those movement sessions with many of the students with autism and those with other cognitive and physical disabilities. Okay, the prevalence of autism spectrum disorder and technology are both on the rise in our society. According to the Center for Disease Control, in 2014, 1 in every 68 children was diagnosed with autism. In a Pew Research Center survey conducted among 24,300 people in 24 emerging and developing economies from March to May 2013, 21 of the 24 countries were daily technology users. The survey indicated that the use of technology for not only entertainment purposes, but it was also for information findings and pop culture. The portrayal of disabilities in popular culture has been portrayed, reported, exploited, and praised throughout all facets of media, creating both negative and positive stereotypes for its interventions and its diagnosis. Inflation of autism spectrum disorder in the media and pop culture can be attributed to technology access ease, celebrity spokesmen like what you saw in some of our videos, entertainment portrayals like some of the movies like Clockwork Orange and What's Eating Gilbert Grape, magazine articles, news outlets, and literature. The abundance of information surrounding autism spectrum disorder in these outlets can be argued as negative or positive on the effects of families, individuals diagnosed, and other supporters surrounding that diagnosis. Disabilities, particularly ASD, and its interventions in pop culture have seen both of these positive and negative effects. Throughout history, it has been presented that the issues of misinformation about the intervention, such as applied behavioral analysis, in the news, It has been seen and talked about for the past several decades. In 1982, the appointment of Public Information Officer was made by the American Psychological Association's Division 25 for the experimental analysis of behavior. And this was done to help battle the information that was being presented in the news media, and the person appointed, it was their job to make sure what was being presented was correct. But because there was only one person appointed, there were still and still are many issues surrounding the portrayal. Within our debate, we have the positive argument, and it will begin with the abundant amount of information for parents about new treatments, support, education, and other types of information surrounding a diagnosis of ASD. Individuals with ASD, their families, educators, and others supporting this culture can easily gain information. So Emily's going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. And then Donnie will talk about our negative arguments, which will begin with the continuous need to tend to society's fascination with the term disability or different, leaving out any personal or experimental considerations. And that was found and reported by Holton in 2013. Popular culture can skew the image of disabilities in the lack of evidence-based knowledge and its diagnosis and the treatments surrounding that diagnosis. Media has inaccurately portrayed behavioral analysis through the news, and news medias have often linked behaviorism to psychosurgery in the past, drug treatments, and even the Nazi Germany. Entertainment media has also presented inaccurate details about the behavior analysis, like what you saw in our video clip of Clockwork Orange and What's Eating Gilbert Grape. People, parents, and supporters surrounding a diagnosis of an individual with ASD can believe that those portrayals are in fact correct, which can lead to a negative stereotype in that diagnosis. There's even a popular board game called Trivial Pursuit that includes the following question: who invented the box that psychologists use to shock rats? So even in a simple board game, it may provide negative stereotypes surrounding ASD and its interventions. Within our argument, we will examine how accurate that information is and who's presenting the information about ABA and autism. Particularly for the intervention of ABA, what are the effects of pop culture on this particular treatment as an intervention? And we will also find out the use of behavioral analytical principles in pop culture as an opportunity to promote the field for ABA and in autism. Okay, and now I'm going to turn it over to Emily for our first pro.
Hi, my name is Emily Moran. I work as a behavioral therapist at an autism clinic for children with autism diagnoses. I will be the pro supporter for representing ABA within pop culture. Okay, so for pro number one, the first pro for having ABA represented within pop culture is the fact that it spreads awareness. It spreads awareness about both autism and ABA. When media covers celebrities and people of authority speaking out about autism and ABA, this spreads awareness. Temple Grandin, a prominent advocate within the autistic community, has spoken out about her diagnosis multiple times within interviews and in literature. This brings about positive attention and awareness to the autism community, which indirectly brings attention to ABA. She speaks out from her own personal perspective regarding her diagnosis. Other people who see and hear this, who are also living with an autism diagnosis or other developmental disorders, they see this and they can relate to what she's saying. It takes a lot of courage for a celebrity or a person of authority to come out and speak about a diagnosis in front of the world. Therefore, people understand this and in turn are willing to learn more about the disorder and treatment options that accompany it. Political figures are also speaking out about autism. I'm going to pull up the Lieutenant Governor of Michigan. Actually, his daughter is actually diagnosed with autism. He actually led an autism insurance reform, which mandated for insurance to cover behavioral therapies within the state. So therefore, him speaking out to the community brings more awareness and just spreads information and gets the facts out there and informs people about autism and ABA. Facts are shared when behavior analysts are interviewed in magazines and newspapers. They give research-based facts. About ABA, not falsified information. Research has proven ABA to be one of the most effective treatments for individuals with autism. Therefore, behavior analysts and other professionals in the behavior analytic field should be interviewed to get that information out there to the public, so that they're the ones presenting the information and it's true, it's evidence-based, rather than it coming from people who may not know what they're talking about. So that, if facts are shared within the media, it spreads awareness about ABA and the positive effects that it can have.
All right. Hi, I'm Donnie Jellison. I am a board-certified assistant behavior analyst. I oversee, design, and implement therapies, ABA therapy for individuals with autism. I'm also going to be giving the rebuttal and cons to ABA in popular culture. So while media coverage can be helpful in spreading awareness about ABA and autism, it can also have a negative effect as well. So bad publicity could really have a harmful effect on the field. So any isolated incident where maybe there's an ethical dilemma or there's a ethical concern within one area of ABA, it could really spread and be harmful to our field. So, and then rather spread awareness, it could really have the opposite effect where it turns people off from ABA. And celebrities are something you should be very cautious with. They're not always providing the most accurate information. I think of Jenny McCarthy and how her information has been really back and forth, where she first was a proponent for not vaccinating children because there was the belief that it caused autism, and how she's kind of recanted now to saying, well, you should vaccinate your children. So things like that can very misguide parents and give them mixed reviews on therapies. Also, with media coverage, any autism therapy in general, where there is harm or there is negative publicity, that in itself can have a very negative effect on ABA as it generalizes to ABA.
Okay, so for the second pro of having ABA represented within pop culture, this can help gain supporters. In a study by Schreck et al., researchers state that non-scientific therapies such as music therapy and different diets that people try currently receive more support. This is potentially due to the fact that 80% of autism-related material within the media is currently related to these non-scientific therapies. Researchers believe that families are choosing these therapies based on what they're seeing being represented in the media, which is currently a majority of it is the non-scientific therapies. Therefore, if ABA were to be represented more within the media, this could potentially, in turn, gain more supporters. Parents are interested in trying what's being talked about. Therefore, reporters and journalists need to cover ABA more so that parents are made aware of what it has to offer and all the benefits that it can bring to their child or family member with a diagnosis. Parents of children with autism will do almost anything to help their child in need. If it's out there, they're willing to try, especially if there's scientific support to back it up, which ABA possesses. There's plenty of research that demonstrates the positive effects of ABA. Therefore, it needs to be out in the media so these parents are made aware. ABA is also an option for parents who are wanting to leave the medical model of autism treatment. In addition, Another way of gaining supporters is through success stories that are seen through the media. When success stories are covered within the media regarding an individual and ABA, others become intrigued and are more willing to try ABA-related principles. When people see success stories being covered, they become more interested because there is proof of effectiveness. And a third example of ABA being represented in the media and gaining supporters is through pop culture and social media. On websites such as Facebook. Facebook is used by millions of people. Information is spread quickly over Facebook and the internet in general. There was actually recently a link spread among thousands of people on Facebook. It was consisting of a petition for Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield to cover. It was a petition written by a parent for the state of Indiana. In the state of Indiana for Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield to fully cover ABA-related services. So this petition was written by a parent, and within the petition, she speaks highly of the positive effects of ABA and how this therapy has changed her son's life. This petition was spread across many people who signed it. Therefore, people who potentially have little previous knowledge of ABA and autism prior to reading the petition on Facebook have gained an insight into the field regarding the effective changes the ABA produces and why it's so important that services be fully funded by insurance companies.
So entertainment and social media depictions are another area of concern for ABA and pop culture. Entertainment mediums often portray autistic and individuals with autism in a stereotypical light and not in a true representative. So characters portrayed in movies and TVs are often depicted in a stereotypical fashion where they're either engaging in self-interest behavior or aggression. And we don't really see in media the full range of the spectrum. Rather, we see extreme and stereotypical behavior. One such example is a search on YouTube. So here's just a basic YouTube search where the keywords people with autism are put into YouTube, and the first result we have is autistic child having an outburst, and that's really what's common on YouTube. And if you do Google search, you're really going to see stereotypical and aggressive behavior rather than actual behavior of what autistic children usually show. And so shows like Parenthood are not actual representations either. Again, they're actors portraying somebody with autism, and they're not depicting actual events or actual behavior. And then it's also important to keep in mind that Facebook can be very misinterpreted and misinformed. So there's a lot of false information on Facebook. There's a lot of satirical and inaccurate posts on Facebook that really can misinform people about ABA.
Okay, a third pro of having ABA represented within pop culture is the fact that it can actually create changes in the government. Kind of going back to social media and back to Facebook, and an extremely popular form of social media used by so many people in today's society. Information is consistently being shared among different people. There was actually recently a letter to the senator written by a parent in the state of Ohio that was shared on Facebook from a mother trying to persuade the senator to vote to keep the autism scholarship within the state of Ohio funded. The scholarship helps pay for her 2 sons on the spectrum to receive ABA services. She also asked in the letter that more of the money in the scholarship would be dedicated to the students' actual education rather than just sitting in the fund. So the letter was shared among thousands on Facebook, and it's pretty powerful. It's pretty powerful that she was able to use social media to reach others in order to attempt to make a beneficial change within the state of Ohio for ABA-funded services.
Such government changes are often ambiguous, and it's very slow for government change to take place. It takes a lot of time for a bill to get support for it to pass through all the different parts of the judicial system. And even still, where I live in Indiana, we have an insurance mandate where insurance companies are required to provide services for, or ABA services for, children with autism. And right now there's currently a lawsuit around this matter because there's a family who is requesting a certain amount of services, but they're being denied that by their insurance company. So even still that Indiana has this mandate, there's still issues with the bill and the government implementations on how it's interpreted.
And one final pro for having ABA represented within pop culture is the fact that this can help struggling families. Blogging is an extremely beneficial form of support for families. Living with a family member with a diagnosis is hard and can take a toll on family dynamics. Therefore, parents need a support system. Internet blogging from other parents with children with diagnoses as well is helpful to struggling parents. Parents coming from similar situations can help each other through tough times by offering suggestions, advice, and answering questions about treatments that they have tried through blogging. Therefore, just getting that information out there through social media is extremely beneficial to families and their family dynamic.
Okay, so my name is Sarah Leno. I am a kindergarten teacher at an autism center, and we offer educational classrooms ranging from early intervention all the way up to 8th grade. I'm going to be presenting the closing arguments and summarizing both sides of this debate. So starting with the pros for portraying ABA and autism in pop culture, it helps to spread awareness about the disorder and its effective treatments. Celebrities have the ability to change what we consider interesting and important, and that can directly affect the way that others interpret and view autism and applied behavior analysis treatment. They have the ability to use this power not only to spread awareness and educate, but also to affect or to guide those affected by autism towards helpful facts and away from the stereotypes and anxiety. Temple Grandin is considered not only a celebrity in the field of autism, but also in the growing culture of autism spectrum disorder. And she does this by not only educating others about disorders and effective treatment options, but also giving others an optimistic outlook on their future because of how successful she is living with the disorder. When popular figures speak out about their experiences and awareness of applied behavior analysis, it gives others the confidence to speak out about their experiences as well. So people of power who make a difference, they also include political figures. So as Emily mentioned, by addressing the story about the Lieutenant Governor of Michigan, not only did he use his influence to educate people, but he also was able to create change by leading the reform for insurance to cover behavior therapies. There is also great potential in taking advantage of the knowledge and expertise that professionals in the field have to offer. So when behavior analysts are interviewed, they are able to relay the facts and evidence-based research that makes ABA treatment so effective. Another pro that was discussed was gaining supporters. As of now, media tends to cover the non-scientific therapies to treat autism. This might be because this is what seems most appealing and interesting to the public. Families then tend to choose these therapies for their own children. So the trust that the families tend to put in these social media sources in order to make these difficult decisions, it can really open doors to how ABA can be positively portrayed if given an equal amount of coverage within the media. Supporters are often also gained through the success stories that are shared in the media that have some connection to ABA treatment. When success is seen in a disorder that can be taxing on families, those families are more likely to seek similar results. The social media outlets are also a way to serve individuals looking to learn about applied behavior analysis. They do this by connecting with one another and creating change. Facebook has been a way for people to take matters in their own hands. Just as Emily mentioned with the Blue Anthem petition to fully cover ABA services on Facebook, as well as the Ohio Autism Scholarship letter to the senator that was posted on Facebook by a mother. Social media does have the ability to reach millions of people in a matter of seconds, which is what makes the spread of this information so valuable to the field of ABA. The last pro was the portrayal of ABA and how that helps those affected by autism spectrum disorder to feel supported. And this is done through blogs and social media outlets as a way for families to connect with one another and offer guidance. The internet has not only helped families, but also individuals diagnosed with ASD to feel as though they are able to connect and have a voice. So now getting into the cons, the media coverage can sometimes cause more harm than good when ABA is portrayed in a negative light. So when celebrities mention falsified information about ABA, this can also cause an opposite effect and be detrimental to the field's growth. These negative views that can be mistakenly associated with applied behavior analysis can lead parents to be hesitant to seek treatment in this field. Entertainment always also seeks to fulfill the public's fascination with disabilities. So in those cases, it often does not portray autism spectrum disorder properly. So as Donnie showed us, when autism was searched in YouTube, most severe and stereotypical behaviors pop up, and that's most likely because that is what everyone associates with autism or what is most entertaining to the public. The entertainment also relies on stereotypes and secondary sources in order to create characters in TV shows and movies. This can cause unnecessary anxiety to the parents of the children diagnosed rather than help to educate them. And Facebook, while mentioned as a positive outlet for portraying ABA, can also be negative. Inaccurate facts about the field can be posted easily since everyone has access and can post anything they want to Facebook. People have come to really trust sources offered on social media, and when they're exposed to negative articles about applied behavior analysis, they might not be aware that these articles support lacking evidence, or they lack supporting evidence. And as though we would mention that the government has made positive strides in the field, it does not always result in permanent changes for everyone. So just as Donnie mentioned, with the Anthem lawsuit, there still seems to be holes in proper coverage of behavior treatment provided by insurance. So after comparing the various pros and cons that come with ABA being portrayed in pop culture, we have come to the conclusion that the only way to really convey the outstanding benefits that behavior analysis has to offer is to continue to be proactive in the way that it's represented. As the diagnoses of autism spectrum disorder become more prevalent, so will the need for valuable information regarding treatments. There's no question that parents will turn to the internet and media in order to seek this help. So if ABA is represented fairly and with the facts, then our field really has the opportunity to flourish in the way that pop culture portrays ABA. So I think that now we're going to go ahead and answer some questions. And we'll go around and ask those. So I can start with a question regarding autism and ABA in television. And the question is, how can shows such as Parenthood support autism and its interventions? And my answer for this is that most of these shows, as we've mentioned, tend to focus on the perspectives of families that are affected rather than the diagnosed individuals themselves. So they create characters that display stereotypical and extreme aspects of autism because that's what will grab the attention of the audience. And while that is not always applicable, they might want to seek these experiences of individuals that are actually living with the disorder whenever possible. And this type of valuable guidance when writing the script will paint a more accurate picture of autism spectrum disorder while still providing factual information to those who are uneducated on the topic. And at the same time, this also may create job opportunities for those who are disabled. So that's important as well.
I'll go ahead and go next. Another question is, how do parents make sure that the treatments they are choosing for their children